All right, guys. Hello and welcome to the first or second live episode of the Canadian Bowler Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Caldwell, and I'm with once again and always my co-host, Darryl Fitzgerald.
Hey Luke, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, Darryl. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's been a good a few weeks, I think, with the stream and how things have actually come along.
Yeah, I agree, Darryl. It has been really good. Seems like we got a lot of good feedback, and it's been a pretty good time. I'd just like to remind everybody that's watching today that we do have a live chat on the side. So if anyone has anything they would like to say at all, comments, questions for the guests, questions for me, Darryl, whoever, don't be afraid to type them in there. And as always, we love feedback from everybody.
Absolutely. This is meant to be an interactive show. This is meant to be something that we do live with the audience. So anything that you guys can say to us in the chat, let us know how things are looking to the stream, because every once in a while things may look good to us and not look good to you. So if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, let us know. Sorry, well, we're still working on the stream and still kind of perfecting what we want to do with this. So yeah, let us know. Let us know you're out there.
So what do you think, Darryl? Should we start it off hot here and bring on the mystery guest?
Why not?
All
Hopefully
right.
everybody saw the little preview of the Canadian Bowler and kind of
All
guessed
right.
where that shirt
Well,
belongs.
well, Darryl, can I have a quick drum roll, please? All right, coming in from Winnipeg, Manitoba, he is what one might say the handsomest lawn bowler in Canada. My great friend and great person, Rob Law.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Hey
Hey,
Rob, how
Rob,
you
how are
doing?
you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
All good,
You
man.
just you just asked us
Perfect.
that, Rob. Come on.
Oh no, off to a great start. See, I think this could be the first and the last ever live guest interview, depending on how well this goes.
Well, the first and last one with you, anyways, I suppose.
Probably, definitely.
So, Rob, let's start this off with an easy one. I'll give you a softball here. Tell me, who is Rob Law today?
Well, Rob Law today is currently a law student on reading break. So I'm currently at Dalhousie University in Halifax, but I'm back in Winnipeg for the week, heading back on Sunday. So right now that consumes a lot of my time. But beyond that, I'm still a lawn bowler at heart, even in the off season. So working hard away, but mainly focusing on studies right now, and that keeps me pretty busy for the most part.
Right on. And I heard you say something there about still working in the off season. For people out there who maybe don't have quite the coaching that you do with the national team, what do you like to do in the off season to stay fresh for the upcoming season?
Well, I think physical fitness is a big one. Just kind of staying active. So for me, that's just kind of a 20 minutes each day, some sort of routine, whatever it is. I like to change it up because I get a little bored sometimes.
For
A
sure.
lot of mental preparation or training and working on yourself. And really, the way I look at it is you're building yourself as a person either way. So kind of nice to work on whatever little aspects you want to touch on in your personal life, and they can translate over to bowling in a lot of ways.
Awesome.
Uh, Rob, so I mean, you grew up in Manitoba and playing in Manitoba. One thing I think I want to know, and hopefully other people want to know, is being in Manitoba, why did you gravitate towards bowls? And I guess after you got hooked, why do you still play?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously, I'm the classic story of my grandma brought me out. So shout out to Betty there. She got me into the sport.
Shout out Betty Gundy.
There you go. So she brought me out. I was about 9 years old, and by the time I was 12, I was hooked. And I think in Manitoba, it's kind of great. I got to play against some of the top level players for a lot of it. So that was awesome. Yeah, there's the picture right there. So I was pretty young, obviously, very young face too. But yeah, meeting people when I went away to Montreal the first time. I think Luke was there watching
Uh,
Jesse. Is that right?
that's correct.
Yeah. So, but to be there and meet everyone from across Canada, that's what really kept me in the game. The great friends you meet.
Yeah, for those that want to know what picture he's talking about,
Oh no.
It's a picture of Rob in his old Bulls Manitoba shirt. The what was it, cotton?
The horse blankets, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
buttoned up all the way. You can tell I had a lot of style back then. All three buttons done up. Very good.
Yeah, look at those shoes. Those are some nice Adidas you got going on there.
Oh yeah.
I feel a little bad about your back ankle there. Oh, this is a good one here.
Now, what I wanted to know was give us a little background about this photo. This is one of my favorite photos. I took it personally, so what do you think about it?
All right. Well, I guess background to the photo. I'm pretty sure this is right before a game. Apparently, I'm in a fantastic mood. Um, just put the sunscreen on, I guess, and looked straight into the sunlight. And you captured the great moment of me just squinting and smiling all at once in a beautiful fashion, I must add.
You look
Yeah.
great, bud.
And I've got one more, which I think is a little better photo for you anyway. This stuff.
Oh yeah,
There we are.
there you go. Yeah, that's a good one. APs after the fours. We had a great game against Hong Kong to get into the semifinals there in the extra end where Cam came clutch on the I think it was the second last draw, I guess. But to win that one was really cool. And then we had a good little battle against New Zealand. Unfortunately, lost that, but to win bronze with these guys was pretty cool, I must say.
Neat.
Yeah, Rob, you've competed at the international stage a few times now. Do you think the APs of the last year, I guess, would be your favorite event so far? Or?
It's definitely one of them. It was cool to kind of play with the big boys, I guess, for the first time was a neat experience and overwhelming at times. Also, I mean, to pair up with Bester to be for my first ever game with the big boys was pretty cool, I must admit, and somewhat of a surreal moment when you're growing up in Canada. Obviously, watching Bulls, Bester's a big name, so yeah, to get that chance was really neat. It's got to be up there. I think going to play at the World Youth the first time with you actually would be one of a great experience too. To put that maple leaf on for the first time away from the country was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, that was a good time. It has always been kind of neat, like our relationship. We kind of started around the same time and kind of grew up in the sport together. So it was neat to crack that stage with a friend and someone I've been around for a long time.
Yeah, definitely.
So Rob, having been to pretty much everything at every level, so you've played obviously in Manitoba, you've played provincially, you've played nationally and internationally. What are some of the things that you've taken away from those experiences that you think have made you a better bowler?
I think the first thing is just confidence in yourself. Certainly, that's something it's hard to have at each level, especially when you're breaking in. But the more familiar you get with it, the more iterations you get at each event, you become more familiar and are able to kind of perform and get in your own zone. And be trusting your own processes is a big thing. Knowing what you can do and what you're capable of. Obviously, I'm not known for the big hitting shots. So, when I was younger, that was a big thing I had to learn was that that's not my specialty. And I needed to kind of focus on being better at just playing the draw game and really being consistent with that and knowing that some people it's not as flashy as other people. I don't get the bomb like Luke or you, but I can throw a little sizzler once in a while, and that's having confidence in your own game is important, I think.
Perfect.
And Rob, I think you said something there about not throwing the bomb, and I think that actually worked out really good in your favor because there's a lot of guys who I've known over the years who rely on the bomb and they think because they want to be a back end player, so they always want to throw the big heater. And you've always been a kind of guy to stay away from it unless you absolutely need to throw it. And I think that's really good because you've made it okay with yourself to stay as a front end player because just as much as the back end, you're still part of the team, you're still winning games. So
Definitely.
I think that's definitely an asset that you have.
Yeah, I think in Canada especially, people are always trying to filter up towards the back end. But obviously, as you move up in higher levels, the front end, you can't hide any players on any team. So to have that strong front end is important. And Betty used to hate when I would throw a runner, so I'd get crap when I went back for throwing any sort of weight. Usually, I'd have to justify it. That's for sure.
Rob. So how long have you been bowling for now, Rob?
This will be either my 14th or 13th season, one of the two.
Wow.
I was trying to think of that today.
Not bad.
Not too bad.
What would you say is your least and most favorite Bulls moment that you have?
Ooh, well, I think the least favorite moments have to be some of those hard losses. I think back to Winnipeg. What was it, 2018? When the under 25s were here, playing in the finals in your hometown. Obviously, you have some high expectations. The great Owen Kirby beat me that day. He played a great game. So curses
Shout
to
out
you,
Curbs.
Darryl. Yeah, curses to you, Darryl, for doing a great job coaching, and congratulations to Owen, obviously. But that was a bit of a heartbreaker, obviously. And then I think Vancouver losing the final there as well. Those ones stick with you a little extra. But some of the great moments, I mean, off the green, there's been some great moments with people and getting to know people from across the country. But yeah, I think AP's getting that bronze medal and being able to walk up there and accept that medal has got to be a highlight of the career, though so far at least.
I'm just going to read a little chat message from Ralph Ellis here. Since draw weight in Canada is frequently striking weight in Australia, are you a better hitter on faster surfaces?
The quick answer to that is definitely not. No, I still try and stick with the draw game in Australia. Well, as a front end player, I definitely have to. But when we were playing in the under 25s, I stayed with a pretty heavy draw game. Certainly, there are times where my draws take up Canadian weight by accident, but that's a lack of mental focus at times. But no, I stick with the Sizzler would be about as hard as I go in Australia or any sort of fast-paced green.
So for those of you that don't know, we've kind of coined the term the Sizzler for Rob's drives because they're not super rocket-like fast, but they're not draws either. So they're kind of that middle in-between weight where you're just kind of sizzling it down the green, right?
It's kind of funny when you watch him throw them too, because most guys stand up a little bit straighter and get a little bit bigger backswing. Rob's is more of just like a push draw through the backboard. So
It's all good. Whatever's effective, right, guys? Whatever's effective.
Exactly.
Rob, we talked a little bit about bowls today. Sorry, Dale, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem.
We talked a little bit about bowls today, Rob. What are some of your favorite activities you like to partake in outside of bowls? Maybe like if you're away at an event, you want trying to get your mind off the tough game you just had or a big win, just something to kind of get you back into like a regular mental state. What do you think is your favorite things to do outside of the sport?
Well, definitely in Broad Beach, the go-to for me is a walk down the beach or just any sort of walk. I mean, the scenery around there is so beautiful, and I think sometimes when you get wrapped up in the game, you can forget how lucky you are to be away at such a beautiful spot. In Canada, I think it's finding some sort of niche thing. Quite often, we're in kind of smaller towns or not necessarily the big cities, and so finding whatever's unique about those cities is always kind of one of my favorite things to do. And I think generally when we go away, we find a fun little spot to be and make it our own for the week. And so returning to that is kind of a good way to do it for me.
Awesome, man.
With you having been around bowls for so long, I mean, you're still a young age, but you've been bowling for quite a long time. What kind of bonds and friendships and I guess community have you built up for yourself around bowls, and what has bowls meant to you as far as just having those relationships in Canada and maybe around the world?
Yeah, I think I'm very fortunate for just to have such a network around Canada. I mean, obviously this year I moved out to Nova Scotia, and I needed to find an apartment even in April before we left, and I wanted to get it so I could text Jackie Foster, who's a Nova Scotia bowler. She looked at my apartment for me actually. So to have that kind of support network and be able to go pretty much anywhere in the country at this point and be able to text someone and say, hey, I'm in town for a bit. Do you want to hang out? I feel very lucky to have that. And yeah, I mean, the friendships you make, we all share something that you don't get to share with a lot of people in your day-to-day life. And to have that passion in common it's something pretty cool, I think. And you take it for granted at times, having it for the last 12 years, but it's a pretty neat experience for sure.
Now, when you started, Rob, you were a pretty young guy. I know myself personally, I was also young, and I went through a lot of, I don't know if we call it bullying, but a lot of trash talk, let's just call it, from other people outside the sport. Did you ever receive any of that from anybody, like whether it be friends or random people?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, the classic is I thought that was an old person sport, and that's an unfortunate one to hear, but very used to it by now. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of times, especially in the summers when friends want to go away for to the lake or something as you're getting older. In Manitoba, that's a big thing. And for me, it was, I'm sorry, I got a bowl this weekend, or I got practice, or something like that. And it's hard to explain to people. But when you have such a short season, you got to make the most of it. And it was really, it came back to something that I really enjoyed and loved. And I won't act like there weren't hard times where it was really frustrating to be a lawn bowler, but ultimately you come back to that, you get out there and you just forget about it, right? So
Absolutely.
So, putting bowls aside for just a second, what kind of stuff do you do outside of bowls? Like when you're not bowling, when you're not, obviously you're in school, but when you're not in school, what kind of things do you do for fun and entertainment? What are your favorite things outside of bowls?
Well, right now school takes a ton of my time up, but a recent thing I've been getting into, and it was I was hesitant to get into it, but I really enjoy it, is hot yoga actually. So that's kind of my
Really?
unwind routine. Yeah, it's I get lightheaded standing under the hot tub or like a bathtub sometimes. So I thought that would be no good for me. But you know what? I really enjoy it actually. It's certainly a little different as well. But I mean, being a lawn bowler, I'm used to that, I guess. But no, I like to do that quite often. Whenever we're done reading, me and my roommate, I'll sit down and we'll watch a good episode of Live PD. It's the favorite show at the moment.
All right.
Um, when I'm back in Winnipeg, definitely going to be checking out the Forks, and we have a new market called the Hargrave Market, which has got some cool little restaurants and a little craft brewery. So to go out there and unwind with some friends and catch up, that's usually I don't really have a routine necessarily, but like to kind of catch up with people, mingle, and see who I haven't seen in a little while.
Nice.
Sounds like a good time. Now, Rob, do you play any other sports aside of bowls?
Well, growing up in Manitoba, you also have to be an avid curler. So I picked up curling when I was in high school. I don't play in any leagues right now, but I've been sparing for a couple out at in Halifax. So that's been good. Um, Beyond that, I'll dabble in some beach volleyball if that's
Ooh.
around. Nothing structured, or some frisbee or whatever. But nothing structured. Unfortunately, it's usually just lawn bowling or curling.
Fair enough.
So, I guess I'll jump back right into bowls. Being a young guy and being one of the youngest that's on the national team right now, um, what what do you attribute your success? So coming up through juniors, through under 25s, getting into the development squad, and then finally getting into the senior squad, and obviously by some of the pictures you've medaled internationally. What do you attribute that kind of progression and your achievement so far? What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I think I got really lucky in the sense of not being a very good hitter growing up, and growing up with a coach that told me I needed to kind of play a draw game. So I spent a lot of time developing that over the years, and then I hope I'm okay to share this, but you and I had a great talk a few years back about how where our team needed the most kind of positional support was going to be that front end, and so ultimately it was a really combination of just focusing on that. And I think growing up as a kid, you always dream about having that last shot moment, right, where you can win the medal for your team and rah rah all that. But ultimately, it's changing your focus from being maybe the best bowler there is to now something that I tell myself quite regularly is I want to be the best lead there is and best one out there for that. And that's something I strive towards now. And it's changing your perspective. I think that's really helped for me. And then really just focusing your drills on that. It can be fun to go hit a bunch of stuff, but for me, that's not building my game in the way that I need to. And it's certainly an important aspect to have in your back pocket, and you do practice it. But I focus a lot on those weight adjustment drills, consistency. The caterpillar is something that I do quite regularly, and just kind of getting back to the basics. I find that's something that I really find right before a tournament. Just go and work on the basics, find that again, and then you can really rely on those as you go through the week.
Very nice.
That sounds like you got a pretty good head on your shoulders for what you're trying to do, Rob. It seems like you got you're pretty wrapped around what you're trying to get going there. What would you say sort of like your biggest goal or like your end goal in the sport would be?
I think everyone wants to be able to get that World Bowls medal or the Com Games medals. Um, for me, I think my end goal is I want to be able to kind of leave this game and be able to look back and be proud of whatever accomplishments I'd had and whoever I was on the green and off the green in the sport. I think to look back on the relationships you have will last much longer, although the hardware would always be nice. So a combination of the two somewhere in there.
Do you have any aspirations beyond what you're doing now? I mean, obviously, uh, you're hitting at the top level with playing on the national team, but I guess once all that's said and done, do you have any aspirations down the road of what you want to do in bowls or beyond it?
Yeah, I'd love to see Bowls develop in Canada. I've really enjoyed being able to work kind of Bowls Canada is such a small kind of organization to be able to work on some of the committees and try and help build the sport from a policy aspect is something that really interests me. Right now, I've been working a bit with Athletes Can and kind of looking at the safe sport stuff and how Bowls Canada can really start to grow within the larger sport community of the country. I think that's something I'd really love to see as we go forward.
Awesome.
Just reading a comment from the chat here, Rob. We got a question for you. How much time do you spend on mental preparation and mental rehearsal?
It's hard to put an exact number on it each week. I have a few things I work on kind of every day that are a part of just my routine now, and then things that are a part of my weekly routine. And so I'll sit down before each week and set out my goals, and that those include things like your personal life, your bowling life, your fitness, your mental preparation, how you want to feel. So that takes about a half hour a week, and then each day, maybe 15, 20 minutes in the morning. I mean, the nice part about mental preparation is a lot of it is obviously up in your head. You can control your physical state to try and help with that, but really you can do a lot of that. My morning routine is kind of where I fit in a lot of my mental preparation and just kind of getting in that mindset and starting your day off right. It helps, I think, in my personal life and my professional life, but it also builds that kind of muscle almost for your bowling life.
Right on.
I guess a side question: did you have anybody guess that you were gonna actually be on the show today? By some of the I guess images that we sent out of what is now known as the Rob Law shirt.
I was talking to Luke about that last night. I think my mom might have blown the comment on Facebook, so she certainly had it.
Yeah.
I didn't get any other ones though. I don't know if anyone noticed, but that is certainly my go-to banquet shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking going forward too to try and do something like that for every guest we can have on the show and leave it open-ended for everybody out there to try and guess and see who it was. Like, I don't even know if anybody noticed the one from the first episode where Darryl put Ryan Besser's silhouette there. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good fun thing for us to do, and hopefully we can trick some people, and maybe some people can crack the code and get excited if they're interested in the guest or whatnot. So
Oh, we got John Seitman. He said, "I knew that shirt. A few interesting nights at the Australian Open last year."
Oh no.
majors too, apparently.
So Rob, your experience at the youth, when you went there for the first time, hitting those Australian greens for the first time, can you explain how you felt and let people know just exactly what the transition is and why it's so good to play down there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the greens down there are like pristine. There's very, very few runs. You're really just managing the wind. But obviously, when you get down there for the first time, and I think Luke can probably attest to this, we went through when you play on those kind of speeds for the first time, it can be extremely mentally draining. In Canada, you're playing on 10, 12-second greens, and that's just kind of you're used to it. You don't have to think about it. It's a routine. You just get on and you do your thing. But when you go down there, if you get on and do your thing, you're launching that thing right through the backboard. And certainly there were times that we talked a lot about that in debriefs where you have to just each shot needs to be mentally prepared and focused and know what you're going to do. So it can be very frustrating at times because you know what you want to do, you can do it. But the more time you get on those greens, it really improves your technical aspects as a player because you need to be so sound playing on something like that. It's really a great experience, and I hope everyone who lawn bowls gets the chance to play on something like that at some point. It's a treat.
Nice.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on the frustrating point there, Rob. It definitely is frustrating. Like when I was down there, and you think and you're like, oh, I'll just go bowl like I'm at home, and then you can't do. It feels like you almost like people say a lot of times, oh, I can't do anything right now, and it's like I can't do anything for days at a time playing on these greens because I just can't figure it out. And then you almost like for me personally, I was beating myself like, can I even bowl? Like, why am I even here? What is going on? So it definitely does take a lot of mental preparation and a lot of practice on the green to really dial yourself in and be able to get to a point where you can compete like you're at home and you can remember how to roll the ball down the green.
Exactly.
I think Ryan Bester in our last interview said it best. It's even when he went down there, it took him a good 2-3 years to really develop the craft and understand exactly what he needed to do. And that's coming from a guy who won the Worlds and went down there being like an excellent bowler in Canada. It takes time to get that memory going and understand exactly what you need to do every single bowl in order to be successful, right?
Absolutely. Definitely means a lot coming from a guy who's arguably one of the best players in the world too. So
Exactly.
It's not even easy for somebody of that stature.
So segue that, Rob, what was it like to play with Ryan?
It was certainly a neat experience. I mean, Ryan is such a world-class player that to be his front end, it takes a lot of pressure off you in terms of the results you want to do. But at the same time, it adds a little bit of pressure because you know he can win the game, so you don't want to be the reason he doesn't.
Right.
So, I mean, you were our coach for that event, so you kind of know how that was. It was something that was, I think, a really great learning experience for me to see how he called the game. Obviously, playing on those kind of speeds, there's different danger spots that you need to cover off, and he's really great at spotting those, and to just watch him place his bowls and where he wanted to play and the strategy was a really great experience for me to absorb that. There wasn't a ton of communication, which was awesome. We had an inside joke that we would see how many ends we could go without having to say a word to each other, which of course wasn't actually what we were trying to do. But it was a lot of fun. A great guy. So yeah, a great experience all around.
I'm glad you enjoyed your time doing that. It definitely would be fun for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, I think we're getting to the time in the interview where we can flip it around to you. Do you have any questions for us?
Ooh, that's a good one. Where do you guys want to see this podcast in the next 3 months?
The next 3 months. Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
tough one. So I've spoken publicly on the podcast about what I would like my biggest goal of the podcast would be to somehow be able to have a setup that we can take with us so we could interview people, whether it's in the country or if Darryl's away in Australia, bang out a couple interviews with some big name people, or when we go to the majors or any sort of event, just be able to set up a podcast in a hotel room and have live in-person interviews. I think that'd be really awesome. And but the next 3 months, I don't know. I just the way that our channel's been growing and all the support we've got's really good. So if it keeps on the same trend, I would be very, very happy with it.
Yeah, for me, it's been really surprising these support. I mean, it's nice, and I know people were going to support it, but it's still a surprise nonetheless. Seeing the trend of the channel day over day and week over week, and Luke can attest to this. I'm obsessed with analytics, so I'm looking at every day. It's like, okay, how many viewers did we get? How many subs? How many this? How many that?
I get a message almost every day when we get something's going on.
So for me, for 3 months out, I want to continue on this steady growth that we're having. So we've hit, I don't know how many subs it says down there, but it's 126, which is not bad for our first couple shows. If we can continue on this trajectory, I'd love to be in and around the 500 sub mark somewhere in the middle of the year. If we can do that, that would be outstanding as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. And Luke, I have a question for you, actually. Actually, Darryl, this works for you too. Did you guys have a launching point that you felt like in your bowling career, that there was a time or some sort of lesson that made you like all the better the next time you came out, you really stepped it up kind of thing?
You know, man, mine's kind of weird. I'll have to throw it back. I think it was 2016 when did I win the under 25s, Rob? Was that 2016?
It'd have been Vancouver. Yeah, 2015, I think.
So whenever it was, 2015 or 16, I apologize, I can't quite remember, but I was at a point in my life and in bowls where I was going to quit. I remember I said to a lot of people, if I don't win a game, I won't be surprised. I was kind of done with it. I felt like I had nothing going on in the sport. I couldn't win, whatever. And then I show up to the majors, or not the majors, sorry, the under 25s, and we played the Forster Lang Paris the day before, 2016. Thank you, John Siteman. And
no.
and so we're out there, and I remember saying to myself, if I lose all my games, I'm going to be a coach. Show up for the Forster Lang Paris. I lost every single game. Did absolutely terrible. I played. It was the first time I'd ever met Ozzie Chambers from BC, and I think he must have thought I was just garbage, and was like, how has this kid ever won anything? Why has he ever done anything? And then showed up the next day, and I got absolutely annihilated in my first game of the under 25. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. I guess I'm quitting. And I was like, I'm not, like, no joke. I was so beat myself up so bad over it. I was ready to go throw my bowls in the lake. And then I don't know what happened. It just everything just clicked, and I beat everybody the rest of the way through and had that crazy win against Brandon in the final. And then right after that, I got a call from was Mackie Singh at the time, telling me stuff about the NAC and asked if I was available for that and all this other stuff. And it was just kind of like everything kind of came out of nowhere and really slapped me in the face almost. It was great. And I think that's what really helped me propel myself forward. And just with the opportunities that I was given, it gave me like a new life in the sport and made me want to try a little bit more and actually get out and practice and take opportunities. When people would ask me to go bowl, I would show up and I would play and to try to do my best every single time rather than just going out and rolling bowls and just being there because I felt like I had to be, sort of thing. So that was a turning point for me anyway.
For me, I don't think it's necessarily just one point where I said, holy shit, this is changing in one way or the other. I spent years without a coach, just learning from good bowlers, I guess. And I hit a point where I kept losing bigger games. So I was getting a little bit better, but I hit that point where I'd get to the provincials and I'd get annihilated. And I'd go to the provincials again the next year, I'd get annihilated. And switching teams would come and go, and I would still be around. And it just starts to beat down on you after a while. And I think at that point, I kind of focused on, and I think it might have been over the winter, I just kind of said to myself, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? Like, why am I just toiling around in the middle ranks? How do I get better? What do I need to do? And I started to just dive into books and information online and coaching, and that's where the coaching came from. And I think through that, it just sparked me to say, you know what, even if I can't do it myself, and I wasn't sure that I could at that time, I'm going to help other people. And I started coaching, and I started to build more relationships with people. I started to understand the game at a different level, and through that, things just started to take off. So I think it's just years of being beaten down and getting beaten by the Steve McCarahans in Ontario of the world and those kind of guys, that it was eventually like, what am I going to do to get over this hump? There's obviously a block right here that says you're not getting past. You can try, but you're not getting past. What am I going to do to break that down? And it was just taking it upon myself to find those ways to break through and get to the next level.
So Darryl, I don't know if you've seen him here, but we have a couple questions for Rob in the chat.
Ooh,
here.
All right.
Shady Risk. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh no.
It says Rob is an all-star bowler. I have seen him bowl in Australia. Who has been your number one supporter in terms of your friends?
Well, Shady is actually a friend of mine. So he would be a good supporter. In terms of friend groups, I'm shocked he's actually listening right now. But yeah, no, I've been really lucky in the support system I have at home. People have been really good. Obviously, bowling is a niche sport, and sometimes it's hard to take it serious if you're not in the sport. But people have been really respectful, especially within my support group, of how serious I am about it. I'd be at a loss if I didn't thank my family for everything they've done for me to make sure that I can play this sport, and all the times and the weekends they've given up to come watch me play and support me. I've been very lucky in terms of having a great support system in the game.
And one more question from Shady as well. Rob, who do you idolize in the world of lawn bowls? Who is your Kobe of bowling?
Well, you know what, I'd be lying if I said I didn't idolize the Ryan Bester. Having a Canadian go out there and make a professional go at it. Yeah. the Ryan Besser, not just
Hey,
Ryan
Ryan
Besser.
Lester.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, to have someone come from Canada and make a go at it professionally was something that was really a neat thing to me growing up. I mean, you gotta respect the Alex Marshalls of the world, and those guys are top notch, and some of the shots they come up with are absolutely brilliant. So I don't know if I have just one. I think there's combinations of everyone's games that I really like to kind of pick and choose from.
Awesome.
Who do you think's been like the most? How do I say this? Do you remember when we were in Australia, Rob, and we met Nathan Rice, and I was just blown away?
Yeah.
Who has been that type of person for you?
Uh, I don't know. There's been certainly what was it? We were playing someone in APs, and I remember just sitting there being, I think it was Shannon McElroy, and I just was like, this is who I'm playing against right now. It was kind of a surreal. I was leading up against him in the pairs. Uh, I think it was at Helensvale, and it was such a kind of like step back moment and be like, wow, this is who I'm playing against right now. It was kind of a cool thing. I'd watched him play Ryan in the World Singles, um, in the World Bowl Singles finals, I guess, and so just to be like, wow, I'm playing against this guy right now. I'm drawing up against him. It was kind of a cool. That was certainly a moment. I was like, wow.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
So, Rob, do you have any other questions for us today?
Well, I'd like to know what's up for you guys this season. Like, how are you guys preparing? What are you getting ready?
Oh, we're gonna win the provincial fours. Move on to the nationals, and then outside of that, I hope to do well in the under 25s here in Peterborough at the club. Have a good showing there in front of the hometown guys and my friends and family. Hopefully they show up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I don't really have much else going on this season. So,
About the podcast.
I am looking the podcast, and I'm looking forward to playing at WOBA with a couple of my friends. So that'll be fun too.
Awesome.
For me, I guess it's going to World Bowls and seeing how that all pans out. I'll be hanging out with Rob a little bit with his shirt and and Captain Corduroy, who is Derek Dillon, by the way, for those that don't know. Yeah. And the fours. I'm really focused on the fours. I played with Luke last year, and we were one shot away from making it to the medals, and we want to do that and so much better this coming season. That's kind of the main focus right now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Rob, Ralph Ellis would like to know before we let you go here. Did you trash talk Shannon McElroy?
I'm not a trash talker on the green, unfortunately. It's never been a skill that I'm good at. I need to work on my chirps a little more, I think.
Really, gotta go play some pickup hockey or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I gotta come up with some good lines for the next time.
Well, all right, Rob. Thanks very much for your time today. I appreciate you coming onto the podcast and having a conversation. I had a really good time talking to you, as I always do.
It was a lot of fun.
And once again, thanks and good luck with your upcoming season. And just so you know, you have the support of the Canadian Bowler all the way. So
that's right.
Thank you, guys. It was great to be here. I had a lot of fun.
Thanks, Rob.
Take care.
Bye. Well, Darryl, that was a good time. Had a fun time talking to Rob. It's always nice talking to somebody who's such a good friend as Rob is to me. So
it is, and that was a great conversation, man.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I mean, he's a young guy. He's on the national team. He's played at every level, doing something. So his perspective is great for those that are coming up and saying, this is kind of where you need to go in order to get there.
Awesome, and he speaks very well too. So he's very well spoken. So I think
that's true.
Makes it a lot easier for us.
That is very true.
And I would like to, before we go into the next little part here, I'd just like to thank everybody who decided to tune in and ask questions for Rob. If anybody else has any more questions, whether they could be for Rob if you'd like, or for us, or whoever, don't be afraid to post them, and we'll answer them the best we can. And so, Darryl, I think what I see here on the screen is you'd like to move on to the BPL.
Oh, yep. Let me move that around a little bit here.
Sorry, I thought that's what we were going through. I wasn't sure.
No, we are. Okay. My screen was a little off on the preview there, so
we're getting better. We promise.
Yeah, I hope so. So Yeah, I just really wanted to talk about the BPL. It's coming up for Canadians. We don't have a lot of stuff going on right now, but for those of you uh, who are looking for something to watch, something to get interested in, something to keep that Bulls fire burning during the winter months when you can't do a lot of other things. The BPL is coming up, starting up this week. Coming
Tuesday, right there, I think.
Yeah, I think it's Tuesday.
I think so.
And
I'm not sure, but
we just kind of wanted to give a shout out to that and say, this is something that we can watch, something that we can stream, take a look at. It's a fun, really exciting event that's in Australia. It has a lot of international players, a lot of the top in the field, as you can see from the picture I've got up here. You've got Alex Marshall, you've got Ryan Bester, Chloe Stewart, and Natasha Scott, some of the best bowlers that you'll find anywhere. And if I flip, this is online. So if you go to Bulls Australia, you can find the program and it'll show all the stuff related. It has a schedule of play, so you can kind of see based on your time zone what you can watch and what you can stream. They're doing, I think, streaming in the morning, and then it's on their local TV in the afternoon, but hopefully we can find a way to see that. And then it's got profiles of every team. So you can kind of find your favorite players and decide what you want to watch. And of course, the Murray Steamers, which is Ryan Bester's team. You can see his happy face down here.
And while we're highlighting that, Darryl, John Siteman says it's going to be quite the combo with Bester playing with Joe Edwards. We were actually speaking about that today, John, about how that's going to be a deadly combo for sure.
Yeah.
Adding Joe to that team.
And they're playing, I guess, at their home club. So Moama Bowling Club is actually one of the clubs that they're playing, and that's where the Murray Steamers home base is. So you've got Ryan Bester, who's obviously needs no introduction, but you've got Joe Edwards and Michael Walker. And Michael Walker is Moama representative that's on the team, for those of you that might not know that name. But he's been playing on that team since it started, I believe. So yeah, just something to take a look at. We kind of want to promote things that are going on in bowls all over the world, so that you in Canada and anybody that's watching around the world can kind of know what's going on and what we can tune into next, right?
Yeah, absolutely. John also mentioned don't count out the Melbourne Pulse with Gary Kelly, Barry Lester, and Natasha Scott. Yeah, that's also a very good team. I've played against Gary Kelly myself, and he's absolutely an incredible player, does some amazing things, and he's a very passionate player as well. So he's not the easiest person to play against, I would say, and he's a very good guy. So yeah, that's a good team to watch as well. So next, I think we are going to go over the calendar of events for the 2020 season.
Yeah.
If you're ready for that, Darryl.
Yeah, we got it up. So you can find this on bullscanada.com. I was going to say .ca.com. Don't go to .ca. We've got the 2020 calendar of events. So we've got the Canadian Youth, August 2nd to 7th.
You're in Peterborough.
That's in Peterborough. Go and see Luke. If you want an interview, you can try to badger him, and maybe he'll give you an interview. I don't know.
Never know. If Ralph Alice can hook me up with one of those OLBA vlog cameras, you never know.
There you go. We've got the pairs and the fours and the outdoor singles, which are both being played in Edmonton at the Commonwealth LBC. And the pairs and fours run from August 18th to 22nd, and the singles from the 23rd to the 27th. The mixed pairs are going to be in Halifax at the Wanderers LBC, and that's from September 15th to 19th. They're still looking for a venue in BC for the senior triples, so that's to be determined. So make sure if you're interested in that, you go to Bulls Canada and check out regularly. And then the indoor singles is obviously at the PIBC, which is in Vancouver, and that's October 19th to 24th.
Awesome. Yeah, it's actually a pretty good year. All nice and spread out.
That's right, man.
So I think we're ready to move on to, I think what's going to have to be our final segment of the day, which would be Darryl's Coach's Corner. That one.
All right. So hopefully what's going to be a staple of this is the Coach's Corner. where I can talk about stuff that I find interesting, questions that I've been asked from you, the viewers. If you have questions that you want answered, you can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up on any social media platform, or if you check the description in the video, there's all of our contact information, including our email, which is canadianlongbowler@gmail.com. And you can send questions there, and we will try to address them in one of the next shows if it lines up. So, as part of my Coach's Corner this time around, I wanted to talk about the effective first bowl. I get asked a lot of questions about this. It's something that we focus on at the national level, and I think it's something not everybody can wrap their head around. So hopefully I can take just a little bit of time here and get you to focus on some of the stats that I can pull out. So, effective first bowl. What's the importance of an effective first bowl? Well, there's a lot of things that are, I guess, a benefit of getting that effective first bowl. The effective first bowl is the jack is rolled out. I can get that very first shot within a mat length of the jack. So whether it's me throwing the jack and throwing my first bowl onto it, or as the opposition, I can nail that first bowl and be the first one to the jack. It can help swing that game, or that end at least, hugely in your favor. Okay? It focuses your delivery on being within a mat length of the target. So that 2-foot circle is what you want to be in around the jack. An effective first bowl helps you manage pressure. So when you nail that first bowl and you know that you're close and you know that you're either a scoring bowl or a very good second shot, the pressure can drop down. You can say, okay, I've got another bowl or another 2 bowls, whatever it is, to improve on that. I've nailed that first one, I can do it better, or I can play position. You're taking that pressure and you're moving it on to the opposition. So I nailed that, now the person's saying, oh crap, that person's really close. How am I going to beat that? I need to draw closer, or I need to get even better than that. Your pressure goes down, their pressure goes up. And if you can have a high effective rate of that first bowl, you can erode the confidence of the other team down over time. So I keep nailing that first bowl, and the person's going to say, oh man, when is Darryl going to let up? When am I going to be able to get that next shot in there? Or when am I going to be able to be the first shot? And slowly, you can push them down, and your confidence keeps going up. And it's just a cumulative effect over time that you start to distance yourself. It's really, really effective. And what I like to call execution versus desperation. So getting that first bowl in, I can now execute my plan. I've hit that first bowl. Now what do I need to do? Do I need to put in my back bowls? Do I need to put in position? Do I need to add to that? I'm not so worried about getting that bowl close. Now I can start to work on my plan and say, okay, what am I doing next? What am I going to do to improve it? What am I going to do to make sure I'm the shot at the end of the end? And you can stop chasing points. I'm not in desperation mode. I'm not trying to do damage control. I threw a loose bowl way out in front and narrow. Now I need to think about, okay, how am I going to change that up and actually get close? I go from effective first bowl and executing to loose bowls and being in desperation to say, okay, I need to get a second shot. I need to get something close and cut this down. I'm losing in the game. I need to get the next shot. It's more of a desperation, and you're trying to catch up. It allows for building ahead. That plan that you draw up and want to play, you can't do that unless you execute your bowls. And that allows for positional play, right? You're not just trying to get close to the jack. You can actually play good shots that keep you in the game. And those with the higher percentage of effective first bowls tend to win more ends overall and tend to win the game. It's not 100% all the time, but a high percentage. So what I want to do is throw some data to back it up. I went back to the 2019 Canadian Singles Finals. and I actually tracked every single end with effective bowls on both sides. So I did the men and the women, and I gathered up all that information, and I've got it here for you. So there were 49 ends played, 392 bowls rolled. The winners, they had 17 of the 49 ends with an effective first bowl. That's roughly 35%. The losers only had 10 of 49, which is around 20%. Now, I will say that it might have been some tough conditions. It might have been a tough rink, who knows. But as you can see, the winners had a higher one, the losers had a lower one. That should be pretty apparent. 18 of 27 ends had an effective first bowl, and the player won those points on 67% of those. So when someone played a good effective first bowl and the other person did not, that person won 67% of those ends. That's a huge percentage to win overall in the game. And if you're increasing your number of ends that you have that first bowl effectiveness, you will grab 67% of those large grouping of ends. It's a really big deal. And then it was pretty much half and a dozen of one and 6 of the other. It was 55% of the ends had effective first bowls, and then the mixed ends where it was split, it was between 40 and 60% one way or the other on who won those. So I mean, you could probably slice that down the middle and say most of the time it's a 50-50 who's going to win that end. On the women's side, I had 11 ends that were just kind of mixed, where either nobody had an effective first bowl or both kind of got one, and one side won 5 of 11, the other side won 6 of 11. And on the men's side, one person won 5 of 12 and one person won 7 of 12. That first bowl can make a huge difference in what you're going to get out of it. So I welcome any questions on this. If you want some more information, if you want to talk about strategy and what you need to do to get better, hit us up, social media, email, whatever it is in the chat that you're looking at right now, and everything is in the description box below. So check us out and let us know. And with that, I'll bring back Luke.
Thanks, Darryl. That was a good segment. I really enjoyed listening to that. Lots of good information in there. And just briefly here, I have a small segment that I would like to do for myself. It's just a couple random facts that I researched real quick about bulls. Well, Darryl was talking there. I think I'm a big fan of random facts about sports and whatever else. Right. So just reading here, it says a bowling green has been a permanent fixture at the Windsor Castle in England, with the first Princess Elizabeth and Queen Victoria being avid bowlers. I did not know that. And also, just another one quick today, bowls has been played at around 7,200 clubs in Britain alone, which I thought is a lot.
That's a lot.
I thought I just thought I'd throw those couple quick things in there. And unfortunately, I hate to do this, but I'm on a little bit of a time crunch today, Darryl. So I might have to say that is all I can do for today.
Hey, we've been going for almost an hour here, which is awesome,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun talking to you and talking to Rob. I thought that was awesome. I know we've said this a few times over the course of the show. I can't stress it enough, though. Any feedback or comments in the comment section, personally to me or Darryl, or via email, whatever is easiest for you.
Absolutely.
We'll take anything from anybody and everybody. Any sort of feedback, whether it's criticism or positive stuff, whatever. It all helps. And just a quick thing I'd like to add as well, in the comment down below, just comment who you'd like to see as a future guest on the Canadian Bowler podcast. And with that being said, thanks, Darryl. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, may all your shots be touchers.